Hey guys, welcome to our channel Splendid Light. Today we are going to talk about faith and take it up a notch. So, this message is for all you faith warriors out there. The Bible defines faith in Hebrews 11:1. Simply put, faith is merely believing that God will do what He said He will do. And having said that, every new level we enter into God, we require a much more intimate knowing of who He is and a much more deeper understanding of His truth. Now let's jump into Abraham's story. Well, Abraham believed that God will give him a child. Even at a ripe old age of 100 years, he did not think of the state of his body, but rather believed that God will give him a child, and he received a child indeed. Well, now what happens next? He steps into his next level in his journey with God, and this level requires a much more deeper understanding, a much more deeper conviction of God's promise to him. Because in this level, God is telling him, sacrifice your only son to me. While this sounds contradicting to God's promises to Abraham in the previous level, where God tells him, I will give you a son through your rightful wife Sarah, and through this son, I am going to give you descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and the grains of the sand. While this sounds contradicting only on the surface, Abraham needs a much more deeper belief and faith in God to crack this level. You see, the truth does not change here. God's promises always remain the same. His words stand the same forever. But what changes here is the level of conviction Abraham has regarding God's promise to him. And this is true with all of us. If we are planning to move forward in God, we cannot do it with the faith of the previous level. We need a much more deeper knowing of who God is and an even more deeper conviction of His promises to us so that we can harvest the fruits of the current level. Otherwise, we will stay stuck at one point in our life and never be able to move forward. And after some time, you would start thinking, what happened to me? Why am I not moving forward? Why isn't anything happening in my life? Where is God? I have had faith in God before. I have seen God's hand at work in my life before. But why am I stuck here now? Maybe God just does miracles in the beginning of my journey just to lure me into His community, and once I am inside Him, bam, He cuts me off of all His greatness and miracles. Well, isn't this what the enemy tells us all? While the exact opposite is the truth. The real purpose of coming into God is to know Him more and more. Isn't that why God created man and woman? He wanted to commune and fellowship with those of His own kind, with His own species that He created man and woman. Well, man disobeyed God and got cut off from His presence, and the rest is history. But the very purpose of man's creation is so that God can reveal Himself to us. God wants to reveal Himself completely to us so that He can delight in our presence and we can delight in His presence. Why do you think the new heaven and the new earth that is to come is actually God's abode with mankind? Because God delights in our presence and wants to be amidst us. That's why. So we can only move forward in God as long as we are willing to know Him more and more. Because God is yearning to reveal Himself to us, to come and commune and fellowship with each and every lives. And if Abraham had not journeyed into a deeper revelation of God's promises to him, he wouldn't have made it to the next big level, which is being the father of not just one son, but that of numerous descendants. And the same happens in Joseph's case too. See, Joseph gets these amazing dreams and promises that God is going to raise him up, and he kind of cracks the code that he might be the king someday. And then what happens? He gets sold into slavery, the exact opposite of God's promises to him. And he embarks on a journey of deeper faith in God, and the rest we all know. See, Joseph should have thought that God will raise him up in his own hometown among his own people. But what happened? The situation changed. God's words did not change. God's promises to Joseph did not change. But the situation changed here. And for him to receive that promise from God, he had to believe in God's words despite his situation. That no matter what, no matter where, God will raise him up and fulfill his promises. This happens with King David and every other biblical hero we read about. And like them, we might also find ourselves in such contradictory situations where God promises us something and what we face in our life today is completely contrary to his promises. But that only requires us to journey even more deeply into God. We should remember that God's words never change. His promises to us never change. It is the situation that changes. God says, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words will never pass away. So God's words and promises to us never change. They remain constant forever. But what should change is our level of faith in him as we climb up the ladder in him. Abraham did climb up the ladder in God, and he ended up being called friend of God. See, the problem with us born-again Christians today is that we hear about the good news of Jesus. We hear about all the good things God has in store for us through Jesus. And we get so pumped up in our hearts and our spirit that we start seeking these good things while the exact opposite should be done. We should actually start seeking God more and more so that God can take up more room in our lives. And that will result in his goodness being filled in our life. But we leave God alone and we start seeking only his goodness. And we end up being stuck at one point in our life. And we start wondering, what happened? What happened to me? Why isn't anything happening in my life? Why am I not receiving anything from God? While the truth is, God has blessed us already with every good thing from the beginning of time. And we, in our pursuit of his goodness, we have narrowed our hearts and our minds to such an extent that his goodness cannot enter into our life. And it is only when we set our focus completely in God that our hearts begin to broaden up. So what we need is not a new message or a new verse to walk in the new level in God, but instead we need a deeper revelation of God's promise to us in the previous level. We cannot walk in the current level with the faith of the previous level. Hey guys, I hope my message today has penetrated deep into your hearts. I hope that my message today is useful to each and every one of you watching. If you think this message would help somebody that you may know, please do share it with them. And for more such videos, to know more and more about God, do subscribe to our channel Splendid Life. Thank you all for watching.